Great. Hello, and thanks for joining my session. My name is Serena, but I think a lot of people online know me as She Networks on both TikTok and Twitter. And if you're not very familiar with me and what I do, I have been making TikTok content since December of 2020 that is typically related to networking and security, and posting on Twitter kind of really just whatever I want. Sometimes it's technical, sometimes it's not, but feel free to follow me on either of those platforms if you are interested. A little bit of background on myself. I am a network engineer full time. I kind of started my networking journey. I think I took my first CCNA class in 2013, and then I graduated college in 2018 with a degree in computer information systems, and it had a concentration on networking and information security. Then after that, after graduating, I started a job, and my job was mainly around compute, virtualization, and a lot of operating systems, obviously. So VMware, Linux, different things like that. And it was kind of more of a support role. And now I am kind of helping people in their data centers. I've done data center build. Now I'm kind of helping people integrate in newer systems with their older systems. And that's typically what I do. In December of 2020, when I started making TikTok content, I'd recently discovered that there was kind of people making technical content on TikTok. And at the time, there was really only a handful of people, especially if you took out anybody that was doing software development. There was very few people making any type of security related content, and they were doing really well because there's a lot of people that are interested in that content, and there wasn't a lot of people doing it. And I at the time was like, I didn't really have any social media presence at all. So I think I had like 50 followers on Twitter, and I had I had a small Instagram account. It was nothing crazy, right? And the first person that I saw making technical content was a systems analyst. And he was doing a lot of stuff that I do, so a lot of networking. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's great that people are so interested in your content. And he really encouraged me to kind of start making my own. And so the first couple videos that I had put out were roasting Linux users based on what distro that they used. So obviously that went over really well. As you can imagine, it went over great. But it did get a lot of traction, and I think at that time was really encouraging to me to continue to make content. And at the time, I really didn't know what I wanted to do with it. I didn't know really what people would be interested in. So a lot of my videos were kind of jokes or TikTok trends. And, I started to get like just people asking real questions on being a network engineer or how you get into it. And, I started making content that was more educational and a little bit more useful than my funny trends that I was doing at the time. And that really, started to gain even more traction from there. So I started making more educational content around networking, and then started adding kind of some security in there as well. And I relied a lot of times on like what people's questions were, and then I would just kind of answer them right there. And I started to gain even more traction. And the majority of TikTok users are, they're younger, in 20s and below. I think 33% of all TikTok users are 19 years old or younger. And so a lot of people in that time in their life are really just trying to figure out what they want to do. They might be interested in a career in security, but they don't really know how to do that, and they're trying to figure it out. And part of my content is me trying to put myself in their shoes, because I really wasn't there that long ago. And if you haven't had to find a security job recently as an entry level, it's changed a lot within the last like 10, 15 years. And it's become a lot harder to achieve that career than it was back then. So, I think providing kind of these resources on TikTok it's been great, and it's a great way to put out more information and give it to people who might not have been even looking for it. And that's kind of what's the really redeeming part about using TikTok and what makes it different than other platforms. See, you know, one, you have a lot of young adults who are trying to figure out their career. And then two, you have an algorithm on TikTok where if you show kind of a slight interest in technology, you'll start getting a lot more videos on your For You page about technology because of their algorithm. And then from there, you can start following people who you want to see more content from. And this is great even for people who maybe aren't even looking for a full career in technology. They might just want to know how to better their security. Like they want to know about multi-factor authentication, or, there's obviously some really popular videos from other creators too about, how to protect themselves from like carding or different things like that. And they might not even be fully interested in. And it's been cool because I've seen people that follow me who are pilots, who are maintenance people, who are truckers, and they have this interest, but it's not what they're doing full time, and it might not even be what they want to do full time. But even just having your own, security awareness is fantastic, that I am able to kind of reach these people who may not have traditionally found my content or other kind of related content because they weren't necessarily like searching it out, but TikTok has now provided it to them based on the algorithm, which is cool. And the other thing is with, short form content, that is a challenge. I mean, I don't think anybody was challenged before to explain DHCP in under 60 seconds. And so that I like that about TikTok, because you kind of start to lose people's attention, I would say, especially on TikTok, really quickly. So you have to start off with a good hook that's going to get people's attention and wanting to watch more video. And then you have about until like 20 to 30 seconds to like really hook them in if you're going to expect them to make it to the minute mark. So that has been interesting, and that's been a challenge, just providing this information in under 60 seconds. And I think people don't feel like their time is being wasted, or you're really drawing out a concept that can be much more simple and simplified in a way that really anybody can understand it, even without having too much of an in-depth technical background. So this is why I really like TikTok. And I know there is controversy around TikTok, especially as a security professional. What is like the danger of TikTok? Is it really kind of the spyware that I think some people have tried to make it out to be? Personally, I say no. And I ended up doing a 20-page research paper about TikTok that had about 40 different sources. And at the end of it, I truly concluded that it's not any more dangerous or any more spyware-like than any other platform that you're using for social media, whether it be Twitter or Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. They all kind of have the same policies. And ultimately, I think that a lot of the hype around TikTok being a security issue was politically motivated. However, I will let you kind of do your own research and decide on your own, if it's something that you are interested in using or not. I mean, there's a lot of ways out to put your content out there and to share what you do and what you love to do with people outside of TikTok. With that also being said, TikTok is still in kind of its early days of, I guess, existence in general, and content moderation, especially around security content, can be especially tricky. I know that YouTube had this problem early on as well, and I think it's kind of adapted and changed since then. But, a lot of security content on TikTok does get moderated off the platform, which is really frustrating, and I'm hoping that they are, kind of working on that, especially where I think a lot of the stuff that is getting moderated off is kind of the equivalent of like a corporate security awareness training which generally I think on TikTok is probably more effective than most corporate security trainings because it's short and it's concise and it's entertaining, because if it wasn't, you wouldn't watch it, right? And the only reason you typically watch it at work is because you're forced to. Um, and while some people do really try and make some good corporate security training, most people, when it's assigned to them, they're not as interested in it. So that is one problem with TikTok, where you kind of have to be careful and understand that you might get some videos taken down and you might have to appeal them, and hopefully they'll get restored. In some cases, they might not get restored. You know, aside from me, there are a lot of great creators on TikTok, and as I put myself in the category of great creators. But you know, there's people that are doing a lot that is useful for people who are just entering into the field, or people that are just kind of general educating and for general public. One of my favorite creators, his name's Kyle Tobiner, and he's been making TikTok content around security, and he's a CISO but also has been like a VP of security at, you know, large corporation, and you know, that type of insight is very valuable to people. And one of the things that he does is a series of just kind of reviewing job listings for entry-level security positions, because as we know, sometimes you review entry-level job listings and they are in fact not entry-level at all. So this can be really confusing for people who are looking for entry-level work and thinking like, I don't have this experience, like I don't have all of this, like I'm looking for, you know, my first job. Like what do I do? How do I land my first job? So him kind of making this content that really dives into what to look for on an entry-level job application is really helpful, and kind of is good because, again, security and tech can kind of be daunting for new people, and it has sometimes a high bar of entry. So being like, hey, this is what you should look for. This is a good role. And then hopefully some of these companies will also update some of their listings and think like, okay, maybe this isn't entry level. How can I make this entry level? Maybe we should take off the requirement that you have a CISSP, or maybe we should take off the requirement of you having 3 years of experience already in the field, which seems kind of obvious, but you know. Another creator that is making security content is Make It Hacken, and he does security tag videos, which is different than what you would think like a traditional, maybe like AppSec type content would be, or network security content, kind of more what I do. But yeah, just like lots of people are interested in, oh, like a security tag, like how can you disable this? And that is kind of just like a fundamental thing, right? If we think about like lock picking, we can think about how to disable a security tag. And that is interesting. He'll use like bubblegum or freezing security tags or different things like that, and that is super interesting as well. And just kind of understanding like how do those work, like what mechanisms are being used to actually make those function. And of course there's a lot of different types, so understanding the different types as well. And it ultimately comes down to just like how curious are you about this technology. And those videos do really well. I mean, millions of views in some cases, which is fantastic, because you know those are also reaching people who might not really have a background in security but are obviously still very curious. And so how can we kind of like showcase that, and how can we spread information that way? And TikTok's been a great platform to do it. And I'm sure a lot of people have seen MalwareTech's videos as well. I think one of his for security cameras and Airbnbs did about 20 million views, which is nuts. Congrats to him. That's awesome. But he's also done things about like Proxmark and card cloning and a couple other like very popular videos. And those are a lot of times about kind of just personal security and knowing that this technology exists. And of course, you're gonna get comments of like, why are you teaching people how to hack? And I think people kind of, sometimes they don't quite understand that to be able to really protect yourself, you know, from this type of thing, you have to know that it exists. If you don't know that it exists or it's possible, it's very hard to really protect yourself from it. So, that there is still some issues in that realm where people might think that you are trying to teach people how to hack, or really you're trying to teach people that, hey, this exists and you should be aware of it so that you can protect yourself from it. So don't be surprised. You probably already aren't surprised, but if you do get those types of comments, they definitely happen. And I think that's another reason why some of this security or hacking content kind of gets taken down from TikTok, is because of that same thought process is, oh, you're teaching people how to do this. But a lot of times there is hours of setup before you even make a 60-second video that's not shown. And sometimes you're gonna need some fundamental understanding of how to use a lot of this equipment, how you're gonna get the scripts, or if you get the scripts, if you write your own scripts, or, the different options that there is. Now, obviously, the theme of this whole thing ultimately is content creation and how it's useful for not only just showing off your knowledge and what you're doing, but also helping new people. So a lot of times I have recommended to people, especially when you do like try and hack me, there's people that do their own write-ups. So that's definitely so useful when people do their own write-ups. And occasionally, like when I've gone through them, I'm like, I have to use maybe a couple write-ups, some information might be missing. So it's always helpful that there's been more than one. But also, like, if you think that you can do a good job of writing this up, like, do it. I encourage you to do it, because maybe your way of writing up this information will resonate better with somebody else, right? Blogs are another great way. Another way is YouTube. So I've been watching a lot of John Hammond's videos, of him even going through Try and Hack Me, or just doing some malware analysis, because that's an area that I don't have a lot of experience on, but I think is good, that I'm just curious about and want to learn more about. So watching somebody else who is knowledgeable in this area and has been doing this for a long time is extremely helpful for people who are just coming into the field. And sometimes, like, I'll watch someone's video walkthrough of Try and Hack Me or Hack the Box, and then I'll go try it myself, and that has been really good, just because sometimes, like, maybe you don't have the energy to actually go through and do it yourself and get everything set up, but you still want to learn and see maybe somebody else's logic. So putting out your own content, even if it's not on TikTok, even if it's not on YouTube, is super helpful. And people have made, even really great Twitter content of just like, hey, these are Linux commands that you should know. And I've like saved some of those. Even if I'm like, I know most of these commands, it's like cool to refer back to that later. And maybe you might learn something that you didn't know before out of all of the things that they had posted, right? So it's really important to put your content out there for new people, but also just get yourself visibility and recognition. The other thing that I have recommended, especially on HackerOne, for people who are interested in bug bounties and security, and something that I've done, is gone through other people's like disclosed reports, because like that way of just seeing the logic and getting ideas of like how maybe that method could be implemented on maybe a different website, or just another way to look at a problem or way to look at bug bounty, especially for a lot of people who are new to it. Like, I'm new at a lot of the AppSec stuff. I do a lot of networking security, but the actual application security stuff is new. And other people's reports, especially when they are well put together and well detailed, is a great learning tool. There's so many options that people kind of don't think about that are completely free. Like, you don't have to pay tons of money to a training resource when there is all this other free content out there. And I want to also contribute to that content so that, I can encourage people to get into this field, or even just up their own personal security. And I hope that through this talk, I am encouraging other people and you to, share your knowledge as well. And if you're interested in it, it's frightening to put yourself out there like that, right? And it is scary because, you always think like somebody who is going to know more about this is going to come around and tell me I'm wrong, or that there's a different way. And yeah, that's probably going to happen. It happens to me, and it sucks sometimes, but also like there's a lot of ways to do things. There's not always one specifically right way. I know I did a video on Hydra, and that got a lot of like, oh, this is never gonna work because of obviously you have attempt lockout and things like that. And while it's true, it's still something to learn and test and try and hack me and just learn about these tools. And nobody starts off in this field an expert. And people really need to kind of give themselves a little bit more grace and be like, hey, I'm not an expert. I'm just learning this thing, but I want to share it with other people. And if you are an expert, fantastic. Like, put your information out there. I encourage you to share it. And, people are looking for it. People are interested. And put yourself in the shoes of individuals who are just starting out because it can be really tough. But yeah, hopefully you were able to, get to the end of this talk, and I encourage you to, reach out to me, find me on Twitter, find me on Instagram or TikTok, and hopefully I can support you through your content creation journey as well. I've met so many fantastic people through this, and it built a community that I'm so grateful and thankful for. But anyway, thank you guys. I hope you enjoy the next talk and the rest of this con. Thank you to HackerOne and Ben for putting on this con, and good luck with everything in your bug bounty and security journey. Thanks guys. Bye.